So in Garry's mod, there are quite a few decent sized maps. Take for instance Flatgrass here, one of the biggest if not the biggest map you can make. Now for all intents and purposes, this should be good enough for most people. I mean, you could spawn giant NPCs, well, at least most of them. But the one thing you're going to notice is that most maps in Garry's mod and in, well, other Source games aren't nearly as big as Flatgrass. In fact, if you do play a lot of Half-Life 2, you're going to notice that there's loading zones in between certain sections of the story, and that's to load in an entirely new map because, well, Source just can't handle maps that big. And for years, people have been trying techniques to try to expand and go beyond the limit of what Source allows for a map size. And I guess you could say some of those people were successful, for instance with the infinite map where you can go into space, which that video will be linked in the top right corner. However, that still wasn't perfect. But what if someone found something that works and isn't completely filled with jank? So I figure instead of explaining everything, let's just go on into the map and see what it looks like. So right off the bat, it looks like your standard map. I mean, we have the backdrop, which is, you know, obviously part of the skybox. So if we just go along here, you can see we're at no clip. We're gonna eventually hit the end of the map, and then we're gonna clip through and then obviously go into the void. Except that's not going to happen. You can see there's our center platform. We're pretty far. In fact, I'd say we're already quite a bit beyond the limits of what Flatgrass can already do. And if you think that, oh, it doesn't actually exist, it's right there, man. And if we spawned an NPC, he would stay right there the whole time. Now, there is a lot to talk about in this video, so I'm going to try to keep this very concise. First things first, I'm going to demonstrate just what it does when you spawn NPCs and other things in. Because if you guys do remember the infinite map we took a look at before, that one, it just kind of dropped everything into a void after a while, because it would pretty much load in new chunks or new terrain data, and then it would kind of just slowly delete the stuff that's out of view, which, to be fair, is a very optimal way to make use of that. But if you truly want that infinite experience, you want to maintain as much of that land as you can, and it's hard to tell because he's probably maybe 2 pixels on my screen right now. But Odessa is still there. In fact, we can go ahead and look at that. He's gonna look a little weird because of obviously how Source, renders distant objects. Oh god, that is horrifying. Looking good, buddy. Alright, so we're gonna keep going now. There are limits to this, like obviously, we can't go to where the skybox is. Well, that's the thing though, is like I said, that is not the skybox. And when I kind of realized this for the first time, I gotta admit, it kind of blew my mind. Now, we're going at max speed, no clip. Unfortunately, that's not gonna cut it in today's video, so we are going to upgrade. So thankfully to do this, all you gotta do is just type in SV cheats. You probably don't even need to do this. I just went ahead and did it because just in case we need it in the future, you're gonna type in SV_ no clip speed. The default one is 5, so we're gonna go, I've tried 10 by the way, it's not fast enough. Even double the no clip speed is not fast enough, so we're gonna go to 20 and type that in. Alright, now when we no clip, we can actually see the things in the distance moving. Now, this might be a little horrifying to some because this pretty much entails that these valleys right here are insanely big, and I'm gonna give you some NPC comparisons to show you just how big they are, because I'm gonna be honest, it's mind-numbingly large. But before we do that, let's go ahead and see if we can even find Odessa. There's our center platform, so I'm gonna zoom out to where we are, so this is kind of like normal FOV. The platform is maybe a pixel or 2, I'm not kidding. In fact, if I move the texture of the surrounding terrain, kind of masks it a bit. And I can't even really see it then, but if we zoom in, we can see, oh, it's still there. And guess what? Odessa is still there, which means even after all this, after traveling this far, well beyond the normal limits of what Source can do, we can still see stuff that we spawned in. Now, how does this work? How is this even possible? I think there's no better person to explain this than the amazing creator himself, MEE. I'll link his video down below. Definitely subscribe to his channel, check out all of his stuff. He makes some of the best, most mind-twisting mods that I've ever seen, so definitely do check that out. He has a perfect explanation on how this works in detail, but he's pretty much using clever tricks to make it appear as if we are exploring an infinite map. Technically, the map is not, because, well, it's not really possible to make something infinite in a video game like this. But still, nonetheless, absolutely amazing because it gets the point across. And I believe it even supports Symphie's vehicle add-on, which we did have. I don't know what I did with it. But if you guys do remember, we had a big issue with vehicles on the infinite map, because for some reason when you're on the Martian surface, it just would not want to work. But the weird thing is, I can't even tell that I'm on a map that's different than a standard Garry's Mod map. There is some of those like weird like jitters like right there, but it doesn't really affect anything. And yes, by the way, we've been following this entire time. No, we're not falling slow. I mean, it is an airboat, so maybe we are. But this is just how high we are. It's just staggering how big these valleys are, and you can even go way over there. This isn't the limit. We can go even further if we want, but first I think we need to do a proper comparison on just how vast this is. Because again, when we're going this quick, it kind of just seems normal until you obviously get to the surface and land and you're like, oh. Now, although I am going to be spawning NPCs, I wouldn't advise using NPCs on this map because sadly, nav meshes just don't work with how this map generates its terrain. And with the way that nav meshes are, it's just not compatible, so sadly that might never be a thing. However, just the fact that this is even possible is pretty spectacular. So here we have Ares, so you might think, oh, well that's just regular Ares. Well, I'm pretty sure most of you know, that is not regular Ares, that is the big Ares, but damn, does he look small. It's just funny because there are so many maps that I can think of where this NPC wouldn't even fit in the bounds of the map, and yet we make him look absolutely insignificant on this one. Alright, so next up we have the Behemoth, and obviously way bigger than Ares, but in this map, he looks like a little puppy dog. Again, though, if we went ahead and we enabled him, I mean, he kind of works for a moment, and then he just kind of twitches for a little while and doesn't really do anything. But when we do go into like his, well, box or area, then I imagine he'll work. Alright, now this is really interesting. So we're back at the beginning, but check this out. That's where the Behemoth is. He turned into like a massive vertical rectangle. That is so strange. Oh, there we go. Once we get close enough, now he loads in. Now, remember guys, we're still quite far from him, even though it looks like we're not, just because obviously we have no clip speed incredibly high. By the way, we should actually crank that up. Let's go all the way up to, screw it, 50. Alright, so now we're at 50. Now it feels like normal Garry's Mod. So I think the thing that I find is really interesting is the way that Garry's Mod, or just Source in general, handles the level of detail from faraway objects. So like, if you notice, the further we get, the less detailed Odessa becomes, until he just kind of becomes a bit of a blocky mess. Alright, so we can also increase the acceleration of no clip. We're going to go up to 30, and we're going to increase the speed even further to 100. I don't even think this is possible. Never mind, it definitely is possible. And you're going to notice every time it kind of like wobbles like that, I think that's kind of like us going into like another zone. But I mean, as you guys can see, it's pretty riveting just being able to freely explore this expanse. It really feels like we're kind of breaking or going outside of the map, or just doing something very wrong. Because again, remember when it took us so long to get to that crater? Well, that white platform is somewhere down there in the middle between these two valleys. Alright, so this is the crazy thing, just to give you a good idea of the scale. So we're no clipping. We're actually pretty close to the ground, right? Except we're not. It's just so weird, like, when you're flying like this, and you're like, okay, well, I'm pretty close, right? But then, yeah, you just fall, and you're actually quite a bit away. So, getting close to the ground without phasing through it is kind of difficult. Welcome to flat grass, except something's a bit awry. So, we can see the center platform here looks good, except some shadow issues. You know, it looks a little odd and out of place. But that's not what's important. What's important is the fact that we need to go faster. There we go, 100. Now, we can see we can just zip around the center platform, and if we go beyond the bounds of the map, well, we're gonna find that there really isn't any. Because as you guys know already, this uses the infinite map as a base, and then builds upon it using the flat grass design. And just like its name entails, the grass is indeed quite flat out here. and you can just keep going. I've already lost where I was. I don't even know where I'm going. And it's not like this is for show. You can land anywhere. And you can do whatever you want. You can build here, you can fight NPCs. You could probably, well, Source could support it, you could probably have like 1,000 people in this server and they could all be off doing something. Now, speaking of that though, I don't know how well this works in multiplayer. I imagine that, of course, ME has an amazing video explaining all these details. So definitely, like I said, check out that channel down below. And I gotta say, bravo, man. Bravo, this is incredible. It took the idea of the infinite map with the Mars map, and it just fixed all the issues I had with it. No weird clipping, but I think this pretty much sums it up. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the idea of infinite maps in Garry's mod, and I would love to hear your opinions on how ME has implemented this, because in my opinion, I think it's damn near perfect and really, really impressive. As always though, leave a like, subscribe if you guys want. Links to everything will be in the description, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, farewell.